Captain Insano shows no mercy.
Straight cash, homie.
Hold on to your butts.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Basement Monsters Game Day Podcast. I'm Ivan Vargas. That's Luke Nettles. What is up, bro? We got a lot to talk about today.
Marathon, buddy.
Marathon. We're going to start it off with your game. It's a big day in the NFL. Like I said, we got about, 6 games we're going to bring to you guys because all of them have playoff implications and divisional race implications. Tampa Bay versus Minnesota. Let's just kick it off with you right away.
Yeah, they got, it's an old matchup from, back when Tampa used to be in the North. So
Central,
So it's going to be a throwback game, if you will. I got Fournette out and Dean, the cornerback's out for Tampa. Luckily Fournette's not our horse. It's Ronald Jones. So hopefully that we get that run game going because we know how Tampa is with that run game. If that run game goes to shit, then there's nothing much left to really watch. But yeah, I'm looking for Tampa to, they've had 2 weeks now. They had a bye last week, so they've had 2 weeks to kind of shake off that debacle they had the last game. So we'll see if they're ready to go. That defense has got to, Dalvin Cook, obviously number one. That's your MO today. Stop him. And just like every other quarterback, stop him, make Kirk Cousins throw. I think they need to make Kirk Cousins throw for over 30 attempts. If they do that, I think if they do that, they set their defense up in a good position, and they also take away a star from Minnesota.
Well, we're talking about a team that the last time they played lost by 3 points to the Chiefs. Just 3 points. We saw the lack of execution. We saw all that, but just 3 points. So I'm sure after a little break, they're riding high, and they want to get after it against Minnesota. And like you said, the key to beating Minnesota, you have to stop Dalvin Cook. It runs through Dalvin Cook, literally and figuratively. It's if you allow, and you had a perfect number, 30. If you allow you force Kirk Cousins, so it's almost – and it's not allowing with Kirk Cousins. It's forcing him to throw 30.
Yeah,
you could get him into some trouble. The thing is that the Vikings have done a good job at limiting his pass attempts and letting Dalvin Cook eat. Now with Tampa Bay comes in with the number 7 defense in the league. Although Minnesota is 4th, a lot of that is because of Dalvin Cook. So what are we going to see here? Are we going to see Tampa Bay rise to the occasion and shut Dalvin Cook down and hopefully get to Kirk Cousins, or are we going to see a continuance of what Minnesota is? Began to has done in recent weeks. Like they're having a really good run here, and they're thinking playoffs. They're thinking playoffs at 9-7. I feel like they got to win out,
right?
But they're still thinking it, and so they're going to be a dangerous team coming in.
Yeah, it's going to be. It should be, like I said, that's going to be the biggest matchup in that game is going to be those linebackers versus Dalvin Cook. They're fast. They got Levante David and Devin White, Shaq Barrett's still there. But I feel like the guy on the defense that needs to have a big game today is Jason Pierre-Paul. That pressure coming off that will be the quarterback's left side. So I think Pierre-Paul needs to have a big day. I wouldn't mind Ndamukong Suh getting back there a couple times too. He's playing a team that he's played, probably 60 times in his career.
Yeah.
So he knows a little bit about how they work, but yeah. And then the other thing is the new kid, the Jefferson kid. The kid's doing good, man. You can't fault him. So they need to keep him in check. And like I said, I think it really boils down to just Dalvin Cook and Jefferson. If they can just knock those two out, then they should have a walk in the park.
Hey, look, Jefferson, man, I can't say anything bad about dude. Like he embarrassed Eddie Jackson on that Monday night. He embarrassed him, dude. And I'm talking about threw him aside as if he were not there at all. As if it were like if I was playing a group of kids and I just stepped on one of them and he just flew. It was like Derrick Henry on Josh Norman.
Yeah.
Compare it somewhat to that. Not really, because that was just ridiculous. But he threw him as if he was Derrick Henry. And that guy is for real. He's been talking about it. He talks about it. He be about it.
You're right.
He be about it. So for me, Jefferson, man, he's pushing for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, at this point, you have to have him in the conversation. Like I said, but he only goes as Cousins goes. So if you get the pressure on Cousins, you limit his chances of putting his hands on that ball and doing something big. So it's really going to come down to those linebackers and that front seven of Tampa. That's going to basically tell you everything. I'm sure they're probably Minnesota's pretty decent. With the play action, you got to bite on it because you never know what's going to happen with Dalvin Cook. So I look for him to be able to move the ball a little bit. But we need to stand up with that defense to start, because I think at some point in the season they were limiting teams to only about 70 or 73 rushing yards a game. So if they could get that today, that would be huge.
All right, let's go ahead and make their picks. I'll go first because I'll leave the suspenseful pick for last. So I'll go first. Tampa was close their last game against the Chiefs. I thought they had their shots. They just need to execute. You and I have compared the BUCS and the Bears before numerous times. The lack of execution, so they can't run the ball. Like they're similar teams in that way. But for me, I feel like Tampa has more promise. I would say that this year. You know what I mean? They definitely have more promise this year. So I think the BUCS are going to find a way to get out of this little funk that they're in. They're going to try to find some stability, some consistency today. And I can see the BUCS. I can see the BUCS winning this game. We'll go 28-17.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go with the BUCS. I guess I'm going to go 30-23 with the BUCS, and I think it's going to be due to 2 turnovers caused by Cousins.
Okay, 30-23 Cousins turnovers. If they could force them, like we said, I believe it. I believe it. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to my game. So let's get our games out of the way so we can talk about everybody else's later on. Not just taking up all the time. So Bears versus the Houston Texans. This is I feel like this is going to be Deshaun, like the best game of Deshaun's career so far. I feel like Deshaun is going to have the game of his life. I said it in the Barely pregame show with Mike. I'm saying it again right now. I'm scared of Deshaun Watson, terrified, because even though he's like downplaying the game or whatever, he's a competitor. He wants to win. He hates losing in Houston. He's beside himself taking these losses that the Texans have been taking. This, if anything, I think this is one of those games where it's like Deshaun, and there's nothing you can do to stop him. I'm nervous about that.
I'm gonna go the opposite way. I'm gonna say Deshaun just comes out and just looks horrible because I think he has some motivation to beat this team, but I think he tries to start fitting or doing things that are outside of him, and I think he makes quite a few mistakes.
I was talking about it in the pregame show. If they could get home, if the defense could just get home, you could find some success because you fumble, what have you. Deshaun fights. We've seen Deshaun break out of multiple situations where we're like, oh man, he's wrapped the fuck up. It's going to be, they have to get home and they have to contain. Right now, I want to go ahead and bring in our guy because I have so many questions, and I'm sure he has the same type of questions and worries that I do. You know him from the On Tap Sportsnet, Bears on Tap, everything on tap. Here's our boy, Brandon Suarez. Brandon, what's up, brother? Good morning.
What's up, boys? How we doing?
Good.
So, like I was telling Luke, man, I'm terrified of Deshaun right now. Like, I really am. Like, he's keeping it quiet. He's under the radar, but you know how much of a competitor he is. And if we're talking about the Deshaun Watson, I'm fully expecting him to play the game of his life or want that for himself.
So I believe the same thing. I also will be watching the game on mute today because I am not trying to hear that BS all day about how we should have drafted him or Mahomes or anyone.
Yeah,
The Bears, I didn't join the show last week after the game. I had to do Bears on Tap, and I didn't even get I know I texted you, but I didn't have that high of expectations going into that game. And I honestly, pre-game, I was not as emotional. During the game, not as emotional. I was like, let's just get through this. And then just at the end of the game. So with this matchup, I believe the same storyline. I believe Deshaun Watson, you see him at the end of the game against the Colts last week, and he needed to be consoled by T.Y. Hilton. That's a guy that was up 24-0 against the Chiefs last year, thinking he's about to go to a Super Bowl and, put on for the team and all that. And now it's gone the complete opposite direction. They traded away his number one receiver. His number one receiver is going to be out today. Brandon Cooks isn't playing. Will Fuller is out with a suspension. I hate to be that guy, but I kind of like the Bears today. I kind of do. And it's not because that we're a good football team, but it's because the Texans, similar to how you guys talked about the BUCS and the Bears, they just have not been able to execute. And what Luke said, too, it's like when Deshaun Watson tries to extend plays, it's either going to be a home run or you might be able to pull his pocket. You might be able to get one on him because there are times where he escapes and he has no business doing so. And then it's like someone comes from the backside and just strips him. So it's like stuff like that does happen, but he can be Superman. And that does kind of scare me, especially with how the Bears defense has played the last few weeks. But Buster Screen's going to be out too. And I know he hasn't played well, but that kind of concerns me with the utilization of the slot receiver in their offense.
Well, Houston Carson, to that point, Houston Carson's been playing his ass off.
Yeah.
He had that big stop against Tampa Bay on Cameron Brate at the final play, the infamous it's fourth down play from Tom Brady. Just fourth? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But he's been playing lights out the entire season. I told Luke and I told Mike in the Barely Pregame show, one of my keys to this game and really the rest of the season is look for the hope. Look for the guys that are wanting to play. Look for the guys that haven't quit yet. So for me, it's a big time spot here for guys like a Houston Carson because now we know how Buster Screen struggled. It might be your time.
Yeah.
I agree, man. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say that's the thing too with our roster. It's like we talked about it a little bit on Bears on Tap. This could be the end of honestly, it's probably the end of the regime for both of them, for Nagy and Pace. And when that happens and you have a huge, shakeup within your organization, you guys know football just as well as anybody else. Every GM and every coach has their prototypical player. Their, that guy that fits into their offense and their defense. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, when a new guy comes in at coach and GM, some of the pieces that we have in place aren't going to fit their schemes and they will be gone. So it's a very weird time to be a Bears fan. I hate that it had to go this way. Like after we played the BUCS and, we were up like 4-1, 5-1, we were cooking and we beat a team that, by all stretches of the imagination, national and local media has respected to be one of the better teams in the NFC, played the Saints well, and have been in most of these games. It's just like, what are we doing here? We know we have talent on this roster, but I think we're really going to miss the window on this team. And again, too, like you said, it's really just a job interview for some of these guys. Mitch is probably going to be looking for a new team. Allen Robinson's going to be looking for a new team. Some of these defensive players, like, it is tough, but at the end of the day, your job as a football player is to go out there and win football games. And I just don't see – I know Quinn hasn't had a good season. Maybe he's dogging it, but I don't see too many guys dogging it because at this point you're fighting for dollars and you're fighting for paychecks at this point because you're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, they're like a 4% chance, and that's if they win out and like 87,000 things happen.
And I hope some of the guys like Eddie Jack, some of the guys that have the bigger contracts, I hope they're not just, we're here, we're going to be here, we're going to get paid. I hope they're not just off and sitting, because that's detrimental to everybody, especially you guys, the younger guys in that locker room that will take that, the rest of their career with the Bears. And if they leave the Bears, they'll take that type of mentality on with them. They'll take that work ethic on with them. They'll take that, hey, I'm out for me at a certain point mentality with them. So, that's something that I don't want to wear off on Cole Kmet, Jalen Johnson, Travis Gibson, the guys that we drafted, the young guys. I don't want that shit sticking with them. So for me, show some fight. For me, I need to continue to see fight because there was a lack of effort at the start of the Packers game, and there was a lack of effort in about, I want to say, the middle of the third quarter of the Lions game.
Yeah, that game should have been won in the second quarter. They could have won that game and pulled away with that game in the second or third quarter. And I forgot. I forgot what his name was that came on with us last week, but he said the same thing. He's like, we gotta come out and grab a touchdown. Yeah, was it Lester? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Lefty.
Oh, lucky, yeah. So it's like we let him hang for way too long, and even after they got the interception, Bilal Nichols, that's a guy who's been playing absolutely above every expectation that anyone in the Chicago Bears organization had for him, and someone that is leading by example. I really feel like for this game, it's going to come down to what team makes the fewer mistakes, because I do think it's going to kind of have that shootout feel. I know it's kind of shitty, quote unquote, bear weather out, but I feel like the way the defenses for both of these teams have been playing, it's probably going to be a similar outing to last week, where it's like, we'll go down and score easily, but are we going to stop Deshaun Watson 15 times? He's going to get his 21 or his 24 points. Like, it's going to be a back and forth game, I think. And honestly, close to a coin flip game, because both of the teams are really in that same position that we've seen all season.
Yeah, I'm looking. I was going to just say two things. You touched on one of them briefly. I was saying this Bears defense needs to be playing hard because, like you said, a lot of these guys may not end up being on the Bears. A lot of these guys are going to be, in the job market. So I look for them to step it up a little bit. I did see a little bit of a interview with Akeem Hicks where he was saying some things that kind of made my eyebrows raise. And like, oh, okay, somebody gets it. So why can't the rest of the team get it? So hopefully that goes over to the rest of the team what he was talking about. But my other thing is for the game, and I saw this in the Indianapolis game with Houston, is how are they going to use Duke Johnson? Because he came out and just started torching. I think it was Indianapolis. He just came out and started torching him. Like, they throw one. Who was that? They threw one touchdown, called it back, and then the next play, Duke Johnson down the sideline for like 60 yards. So
yeah.
So I want us to do all like an activity. We're all going to like close our eyes and we're going to look into the future. Okay. So we're going to close our eyes. We're going to look into the future. You know who Danny Trevathan is, right?
Yeah.
You're going to see the back of Danny Trevathan's jersey as he's looking at the back of Duke Johnson's jersey on like a wheel route or anything, because for whatever reason, the Bears continue to put Danny Trevathan on people out of the backfield, over the middle. They had him covering Devontae Adams.
Anybody with speed. You put anybody with speed out there, Danny Trevathan's speed.
Here's my fantasy tip. If you got Duke Johnson, start Duke Johnson in fantasy, because he will probably get busy on our linebackers. It scares me because, like you said, that's against Darius Leonard and the defense, who is as good of a unit as anyone in the league. And for whatever reason, it baffles me. Me and Ivan talk about it like off-air, text, everything. It's like, why do we keep putting Danny Trevathan on anyone who has any sort of speed? Put him downhill, smash a running back in the mouth, send him on a blitz. And on Bears on Tap, we've even talked about swapping him out for Deion Bush in certain pass fits. I know it's crazy to say because he's a strong safety, but if you look at like a guy like Mark Barron, who played a long career for the Rams, started as a safety, came up and played as a linebacker. If you're like a 220, 230 guy and you have a little bit of punch to you, which Deion Bush does, you can make that adjustment to come in and be a situational linebacker, mostly in the pass coverage.
We've seen it too many times where that works. It just makes sense to have. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying, yeah, that's what it is. It's going to happen. Boom, Deion Bush linebacker. But you have to try these things. You have to see what he got. And Deion Bush is not afraid of anybody. Deion Bush will hit your ass. So for me, that's a good idea. Like, put a Deion Bush in at linebacker. Let's see if first of all you'll match speed, and let's see if he can make tackles. All you have to do is match speed and make tackles there. Make tackles. That's what you want. Make tackles. As long as he knows that, I mean, I'm good with that. I'm cool with trying that out.
So on the topic of someone getting their opportunity today, from my understanding, I believe Duke Shelley will be starting in Buster Screen's place today because Buster won't be playing. So that's someone that they're going to probably be looking to take a shot on, but like similar to how they do with Jalen Johnson. And, once out of every 3 weeks, they hit Johnson for like a 50-yarder. And I'm like, damn it. They do this every game. Every team tries the 9 route on him at least once. But you're going to need a nice physical game from Duke Shelley, like I said, out of the slot, because like I just said like 5 minutes ago, they like to hit Kuti over the middle, and it was Cooks and Fuller, and there's people that they were putting in the slot. And like Luke said, Duke Johnson's going to be when Deshaun Watson rolls out and he's got nothing left and his check down's Duke Johnson, he'll be there and he'll probably be open. So I don't know. I feel like I got Mitch today. I think the Bears will somehow find a way to win today because, like you said, too, at the beginning when we first started talking, that offensive line is so bad. It's the battle of the terrible offensive line, the terrible offenses, the terrible teams. But I think we're just a little less terrible, and it starts up front with our D line. And I think I think everyone should be able to have an opportunity to get to a sack today because Watson's always in and out. He's always moving around. So there's going to be a lot of hands, a lot of grabbing on the jersey because Akeem Hicks and Mack are going to be getting loose. So it's going to be a wild game. It's going to be real backyard football-ish. It'll be a fun one today, I think.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the ghost of a guy that used to be good. His name's J.J. Watt. Against that offensive line could have some big ramifications.
Yeah. Hey, he's stopped at Portillo's and Lou Malnati's this week, so he is definitely ready to rock.
And he was rocking his wife's Chicago Red Stars jersey.
Dude, he's such an awesome guy. JJ, it's hard not to like the Watt brothers, and there's a couple of, like the Edmond brothers, there's a couple other brothers in the NFL, like 2-3 deep, and it's just like shout out to your parents, shout out to your genetics, shout out to trusting the process because y'all all made it happen. So
right.
All right, you know what? Let's go. Let's start with you, Brandon, since you're our guest. Let's start with your predictions for the game. Your quick keys to the game and your prediction on the score.
So keys to the game. Even though I said it's probably going to be a shootout, let's try and prevent it from being a shootout because let's just try and control the clock. Let's run the football. We saw Montgomery run real well last week. He was able to find the end zone, I believe, twice. They don't have good players really at any level of their defense other than the first level with guys like J.J. Watt. I really don't feel like their linebackers, if we can get, D linemen if we can get our linemen to the second level and Montgomery can get in space, you guys know how hard of a runner he is. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you got to make Deshaun Watson beat you. And that can be done. He's a phenomenal quarterback, someone that we should have drafted, something that you're going to hear 87,000 more times today. So probably watch your game on mute, throw the red zone on, and, do that whole thing. But the defense is going to have to play tight press coverage because they like to really hit the middle of the field, the short to intermediate routes, the quick routes, and then they'll take that deep route. But they don't have Will Fuller and they don't have Brandon Cooks today. So it's going to be a little bit of an island of misfit toys, scenario for them. They're going to be looking for the easy and the quick stuff. Let's play good coverage. Let's go out and let's get an interception or, let's create some turnovers and some havoc. And like I said, too, that defensive line has to be in Deshaun Watson's face and getting home the entire afternoon. For my prediction, like I said, it's probably going to be a little bit of a higher scoring affair. I have the Bears 27-24, and we'll call it a Cairo Santos walk-off, even though, I don't think anyone will be going too crazy. I don't want to see a club dub today, but let's just try to find a way to win a football game for all of our sanity.
Right. You know what? Look, before you go, Luke, I'm going to say that. Actually, no, go, Luke, and I'll talk about club dub after. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go key to the game. I'm almost kind of in the realm of just take away his receivers. Make Deshaun. I'd rather Deshaun be running for 10 or 15 yards at a time than passing 40 yards down the field, six times in the field. So my thing is going to be contain him. Like I said, you're playing number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 receivers. So I'm going to say they lock those guys down and then just have the linebackers try to contain him, keep him in the pocket as much as possible. And then, like we said, make Deshaun do it, try to fit something in or do something crazy, snatch a pick and run it back. I'm going to go Bears. I'm going to go Bears 26, Texans 14, and I think it's going to be because I think there's going to be a pick 6 involved.
Let's go.
I can see that too, and like my pick on the Bear League pregame show, it stands. I picked the Bears to win 33-23. But here's this, like. And it's for the reasons you guys mentioned. It's my decision on that was all the reasons you guys said. Thank you for saying it, and thank you for allowing me to go ahead and jump on the point that I was ready to get to. Is club dub. Shut that shit down.
It's closed.
Shut that shit down. That should never rear its fucking head again in this city. What a slap in the face it would be to you, me, and everybody else that watches this football team that gives a damn if they went ahead and they club dubbed after the game and they celebrated after being embarrassed for 6 straight weeks. If the club dub's open, I want Nagy's ass fired tomorrow. Like, there's no fucking reason. Club dubs should be open, period.
That's another thing, too. If we get smoked today, dude, tomorrow is D-Day. Like, if we come back on at halftime and it's like 24-10 Texans, bro, my hat will be upside down, as you guys know. But it might not be, because I might want us to just get smoked at that point, because then people will start to get fired by tomorrow. And Matt Nagy can take Club Dub with him to the XFL, because that's probably where his next coaching stop will be. And it is what it is. Like, he won Coach of the Year, and that was probably the worst thing that could have happened, because it filled his head thinking he's like, oh my goodness, my shit don't stink. And nothing has been – you guys seen the Drake album cover? Nothing was the same. We got to get one with Matt Nagy's bald head ass, and it's just him staring off into space. So – nothing was the same after the Cody Parkey kick, and it never will be with him as our coach.
That's insane. Nothing. You're right. Nothing was the same. Nothing was the same.
Literally.
I have a feeling. Whoever the Detroit Lions next coach is going to hire Nagy, and you guys are going to have to deal with him forever.
Oh my God, him and his
hey, throw this same shit offense at us.
His little Waffle House menu play call sheet.
Hey, Brandon, man, thank you for jumping on the game. Like you said, at halftime, I'll send you a link in a little bit. We'll talk. Hopefully
I'll figure out some better lighting. I haven't done it. I'm like, my lighting in my apartment is so bad. It's just the worst. So I'm like looking at myself, and I'm like, am I in black and white right now?
A little bit. Blinds a little bit. Don't blind us.
I'll switch locations, but I'm rocking this good old school Walter Payton jersey because it's time to run the damn football. Let's get a win today, and I mean we also want some better draft picks, but I'm tired of watching losing games, and it's like I'm never gonna sit down on a Sunday and be like, let's lose, let's New York Jets it, let's OA Lions this.
Yeah, let's Greg Williams this shit. Right?
And hey, let's run engage 8 on the last play of the game. Hey, Luke, go Bucks. Beat the Vikings.
Hey, man, we're trying.
The Vikings have at least Vikings Twitter and people that I know that are Vikings fans need to just shut up because you're not going to the playoffs.
No. And if you do, you're smoked anyway in the first round, so it could be short-lived.
I cannot wait to see Kirk Cousins throw 3 picks today.
I hope so.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for coming on, man. Let everybody know where they can find you real quick before we go to break.
So, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BeatOn300, and then my Bears coverage is at Bears on Tap, and all of my work can be found at On Tap Sportsnet. But, thank you for having me, and, I'll probably be back at halftime. Let's just hope we're not getting smoked, and we're at least in a comfy position to be like, okay, we may not blow it this week.
I hope so. All right, Brandon, thanks, man. We'll see you at the half. All right, but guys, that was Brandon Suarez from the On Tap Sports. Bears on Tap. He's our boy, man. I love talking to Brandon because it's like he's like one of us.
Right.
One of us. All right, guys. Hey, Josh Davidson. Not sure how you don't fire Nagy if we lose today. Yeah, shit. After 6 weeks, I don't know how you don't fire a guy. You know what I mean? But hey, right now we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back after the break with some of the New York Giants and Arizona Cardinals breakdown. That's a big game in the East.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we got big games in the NFC East. Go figure, huh?
Right.
We'll be back right after this on the Basement Monsters Game Day podcast. Stay tuned.
I just heard my favorite band is in town. I'd love to get good seats, but everywhere I've looked, the ticket sites have crazy service fees.
Haven't you heard of TixSplits?
Who?
TixSplits. They don't gouge you with crazy fees. The price they advertise is the price you pay, plus a small delivery fee.
Never pay service fees again. Go to TIXBLITZ.com today. TixSplits.com. Guaranteed seats, low prices. That's TixSplits.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.
Welcome back to the Basic Monsters Game Day podcast. When we last left you guys, we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals versus the New York Giants. The New York Giants, and the Giants, 5-7, but dude, they're fighting. That team is alive. That's a live dog. And you best believe they're sitting on top of the NFC East right now because they have 2 over the Washington Redskins. The Washington football team. Bad. But the Washington football team, like we've been talking about in recent weeks, they're for real too. Like they're not for real. They're up and coming. They're really hungry, and they're a young team, and they can be devastating on defense. The New York Giants going into Arizona. Arizona has had their struggles as of late, bro.
Yeah, I mean I don't know, man. Like I said, it's one. When you think of Arizona and you think Murray and Hopkins, that's the thing that makes it go. Kenyon Drake, he's hit or miss, and then Chase Edmonds. I feel like sometimes they just don't give Chase Edmonds the ball enough. They get Drake happy or whatever. So yeah, they got their work cut out. The Giants are they're hungry, man. Like I said, and I think the other thing that is they know as bad as they are that they can still get in the playoffs, and I think that's the fuel for their fire. I think they're tied right now with Washington, and Washington doesn't have an easy matchup today, going all the way to San Francisco or wherever they're playing now. But yeah, I think the Giants are going to be ready. It's going to be the same thing we just talked about with the Bears. Contain Kyler Murray, contain him, keep him in front of you. Don't let him beat you with his feet. Or you could go vice versa. Sometimes we have seen Kyler Murray be contained and try to win a game with his arm, and he just simply can't do it.
You're right, and you know what? Like I said, the Giants defense and the way that their offense has been playing, even without Daniel Jones, you got Colt McCoy back there.
Mm-hmm.
But what I wanted to point out with the Cardinals are 0-3, have been 0-3 after that DeAndre Hopkins Hail Mary, the D-Hop Hail Mary. They've lost 3 in a row.
Wow.
And they lost 3 in a row to the likes of, hold on, I had it right here. They lost 3 in a row to Seattle, New England, and L.A. We're talking, those are Seattle and L.A., those are 2 division games that you've lost.
Right.
So now you were looking up, you're trending up, but I still believe you're trending up as a whole. But now, as of right now, for the playoffs, you are definitely trending down, and you're running into a team that needs to win. You need to win yourself, but you're running into a team in the New York Giants that is, hey, we have to hold on, because although we've beaten the Washington football team, if you drop anything, if you falter at any point within these next few games, you could be looking up and looking from the outside in on the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
No, right now I want to wrap things. Make your point, and then give me your prediction, because I want to move on to the next game.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, with the Giants, if the Giants, I mean, like I said, Washington just needs, if they see that crack of light, they're going to go for it. And I mean, they're playing hard right now anyway, but it's going to be between those 2 teams. I mean, it's going to be the battle. This division is going to come down to the battle of these last however many games, and who can win out, or who can win the most out of these next 3 or 4 games. Because that's whoever. I mean, like I said, they're going to be like 7-9, maybe, who knows? But that's going to get them in the playoffs. So they're both playing for hunger, and they both need each other to lose. So it's going to be an interesting to just watch this shake down and see who gets that trip to the playoffs. Today I'll go the Giants. I'm going to go Giants 28, and Kyler Murray and them, I'll put them at 23.
28-23 Giants for Luke. I'm going to go with the Giants too. G-Men. I'm going to go with the G-Men. I'm going to go with them 24 to about 17. I don't know if it's going to get, if there's going to be a lot of scoring, but I'm going to go 24-17. A little conservative on the score total, but I still see the Giants prevailing overall. And then we're going to go ahead and jump into our next game, which is a game that you're, closely following, or has a team that you're closely following in the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Kansas City versus Miami Dolphins Chiefs. This is a big game. This is a big game as well. The Dolphins are trying to keep pace with the Buffalo Bills. They could do so right now and give their team a huge boost if they could go ahead and beat the number 1 team in the league, Kansas City.
Oh yeah, and hopefully Kansas City doesn't fall. This isn't like a little trap game for them where they're kind of maybe looking past them, because there's been flashes of Miami this season where you see them and you're like, wow, this is not the same Dolphins that I watched last week. So We'll see. I mean, I think they got their work cut out for them. But I don't know. I feel like if any team is going to beat the Chiefs, you need to throw the ball. And I'm talking down the field, not 5 or 10 yards. I'm talking 20, 25, because that's where they're most susceptible. And I still don't understand to this day why any team that can throw the ball, it's not just picking on Sorensen left and right because he is the weak spot in that defense.
You keep telling me, you keep telling me about Sorensen, and I'm like, every week, Sorensen, there he is.
Yeah. Dude, it's just like,
hey, he's their Chris Conte.
Oh God, yeah. Tell me all about it. You know about Chris Conte, and I know about Chris Conte. So, yeah, he's. I just don't understand it, but for whatever reason,
in the NFL.
Oh my God, but yeah, he's just bad. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think the Chiefs on the opposite side of the ball, the offense is just something that's just insane. It's video game like. So I don't know that Miami keeps up with them on that side. But if they can get some hits in there on Patrick, then things may change. And then Hilaire's back. Then they still have Le'Veon Bell too, which is more just playing a complimentary role nowadays. But hey, they're still potent. Hilaire, I like Hilaire. I like what I see from him. And then the rest of the guys I don't have to talk about because everybody else talks about them all the time. And Hill and Mahomes and Kelsey and all that. But yeah, I look for Kansas City to probably take this game, and I'm gonna hang 35 on Miami and let Miami 17.
Hey, check it out. They've been we'll say, I'll give them this. Since that Chiefs or that loss to the Raiders, they've only lost one other time. One other time. No, excuse me. No, they didn't lose. They
were close. They were close.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you've seen it get close. The Panthers 31-33, the Raiders game 35, the second Raiders game 35-31, the BUCS game 27-24. Even the Broncos game last week was down to the wire. So you got to imagine that this Dolphins team, and you got to think that Chiefs defense is what's keeping them in. It was keeping other teams in the games. You had mentioned. There's spots in that defense that they're not making. It's like this. I'm not going to say that that defense isn't good, that they're just lucky, but luck has something to do with it. So the plays that they were just they're making last year, they're not necessarily making this year. So it's kind of the things that you need, the extra little bit that you needed isn't there, and it's not to your it's not to your discredit. It just hasn't been. So for me, I feel like that defense is what's the problem. Well, if there is a problem, that defense is what's the question.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that covers all that up is Patrick Mahomes. When he's throwing 300, 400 yards average, your defense can kind of fly under the radar a little bit because you won the game. And it wasn't because of you. It's just that you keep winning, and nobody wants to point it out that once you get in a dogfight that you made tuck tail. It's just that simple. I mean, like I said, that first Raiders game, that loss to the Raiders, that the Raiders were skying that ball out. They were throwing it everywhere. The Chiefs couldn't do anything about it. The Raiders beat them straight up at their own game. So like I said, if Miami has any luck today, they're going to have to throw it. They're going to have to throw it deep. And obviously they're going to have to still run the ball to keep Kansas City honest. But I'm sorry, if I'm anybody playing the Chiefs, I have like a third of my playbook is passes directed at Sorensen, and I'm going to see see if I can't hit the lottery over there a couple times.
I think they need to do something that's kind of, in a sense, non-Chief like, except for in the Super Bowl. Run the football.
Mm-hmm.
Run football today. Try to run the football today. I feel like this could be a trap. If you try to get into a gun show, you know what I'm saying? Even with Mahomes, that defense is playing good for Miami. Don't fall into a trap. Make sure you run the ball this game because the way Miami's been playing, they hang around. They linger, man. They linger.
Mm-hmm.
So, keeping them around, they'll hang around. Do not give them any more time than they need. Run the ball, control the clock, and get out there with the win. Luke, what's your prediction?
I think I said something like 35-20 to 17 or something like that. That's what I'm going to stick with. But the thing is, I will point out again about Miami. Miami plays when the game is big. I remember how they played the Patriots a couple times, and they had the Rob Gronkowski debacle where he tried to be a defender one time, and
oh god,
didn't work out well for him. But yeah, Miami, Miami plays to the competition.
Yeah. Miracle in Miami. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Dolphins.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Dolphins, and I'm going to make it a high-scoring but close game. I'm going to go 28-27.
Wow. Okay.
It's going to come down to the wire. The Chiefs have been playing a lot of close games, and I feel like Miami is just kind of that team that's bloop. There you go. Here's your second loss of the year. It's not a detriment to your team. It's just this is football. This team has your number this week. I feel like Miami's going to have their number this week. I may be completely wrong, but the way Miami's been playing, you can't put it past them.
Yeah, then if they get help from the Steelers today too, then that puts them one step closer to the Bills too.
So you're absolutely right. Our next game, we're going to go ahead and jump to the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Indianapolis Colts. 8-4 Colts versus the 7-5 Raiders. The Raiders need to get back on track. The Raiders have been getting embarrassed in recent weeks, and their fan base is pissed off about it because it's like, hey, Chucky, what's been going on? You had them playing all world at the beginning of the year, and now it just seems like they're making dumb mistakes.
I'm going to start this off with my pick, 35-20 Raiders, and I'll tell you why, because the Raiders have been playing Phillip Rivers for the last 20 years.
True.
And they understand him. They know him. They're familiar with him. The only hindrance they have is that Colts defense. That Colts defense is legit. We have seen them suffer a little bit this year. Their running backs, I love both of them. I'm not in love with Hines. I do love Taylor though. I look for them to probably have a pretty decent game. But it's Indianapolis' really big problem is this other outside of Michael Pittman is there's not T.Y. Hilton's diminished. He's kind of disappeared. Pascal comes up every now and then. The tight ends, I guess, would be the next in line behind Pittman. So it's going to be interesting to see how that Raiders defense decides to go against Rivers. And I'm looking for him to do well, but again, just because, like I said, they've been playing him for the last 20 years.
No, right. They know who he is. They know Phillip. They know him well. The one thing, and like I said, this Raiders team took a beat down. An absolute ass whooping by the Atlanta Falcons, 43-6. And then last week they had to come back in the final seconds to beat the lovely New York Jets, 31-28. 28 points by the Jets. That shit cannot fly if you're expecting to make the playoffs. And you're going against a Colts team that's trying to do the same. I feel like for me, you have to be able to get Josh Jacobs going.
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs needs to be your focus. And once you get him going against a team like this, north and south. I'm not talking about east and west because we know how fast the Colts can be. Run it at the gut. Run it up the gut. Run it right at their heart and see how that works because you cannot allow the defense to control what you want to do because like you said, man, that defense for the Colts is they're just they're just there. They're always in the right spot at the right time. They rarely have mistakes. Even though they've lost a few games here, it's just they rarely make mistakes. And if they do, they usually make up for it.
Yeah, the Colts are just, especially with Rivers. It's interesting. We'll see. But I feel like the Raiders get it just because those receivers. Somebody's going to have to come up big for the Colts. I think in order for them to win, and it very well could be Michael Pittman. And I love Michael Pittman. I think he's probably one of the best things that's happened to the Colts in a long time at the receiver position. But the Raiders, I think exactly what you said. And I'm going to go with the combo that almost sounds like it should be like a paint company or maybe like an investment company. I'm going to call it the Waller-Jacobs company. That's the two people that the Raiders need to get busy in order to get this win against the Colts.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make my call. I'm gonna go Colts 30, Raiders 23.
Okay.
I only 7, giving them only 7. Just 6, but giving them that just because I feel like the Raiders can, if they can run the ball, I think they can control the clock, and you could just see that. You could just see it flip a little bit. You can see it flip a little bit, but with the way the Colts have been running the ball with Jonathan Taylor, and the way that they can get going, and the way that the offense or the defense for the the Vegas Raiders has been playing, you can't put it past the Colts for having a big game today.
No, I mean, this is probably out of all the games that we were talking about. This is the one that I was back and forth on so much, just talking about it, just thinking about it, and I got to go with the Raiders squeaked out a win in New York, and for some reason the defensive coordinator got fired and not Gase along with him. But okay, if that's who we want to be the scapegoat, you got to save face somehow, I guess. So let's just did they draw straws for that firing or what happened there? But right. It's just like that just kind of blew my mind. It's like this is the guy that basically kept you in the game and your offense, too, and then all of a sudden one play and he's fired. But Greg Williams has bounced around. I'm sure he'll find another job somewhere. But yeah, this game really wore me down. Like I was just like, God, I can see so many good things happening for the Raiders, but I can also see a lot of good things happen for that Colts defense. So yeah, this one had me twisted up the most of all the games we're talking about today.
All right, let's go ahead and move over to our second to last game. It's going to be Washington versus San Francisco. The number 4 defense in Washington and the number 6 defense in San Francisco. Both teams still scratching and clawing. You know what I mean? Still scratching and clawing. You never know what could happen in these final few weeks. But for Washington, they really need that. I feel like Washington has a better shot than San Francisco because you're looking up at 2 teams. You know what I mean? But for Washington, you're coming off a huge win over the then undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, and you got a guy in Alex Smith that is balling after all this, after everything, balling again. Like, kudos to him, kudos to Ron Rivera for believing in him, kudos for the organization and Ron Rivera for believing in him. And you know what? To be honest. I think this game might be the dark horse game of the day. I think this one might be one of those games where you're like, whoa, is anybody paying attention to what's going on over here? Because it was intense, and then it was a stalemate, and then it got intense at the end. I feel like it's going to be one of those games where if you're not watching it, they're going to be putting it in your face constantly.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about this game is the fact that San Francisco is not playing at San Francisco, because I would love to see nothing more than Alex Smith to go back into at San Francisco after everything he's been through and just put it on him in San Francisco. But yeah, no, I think you're right. This team, I'm going to pick Washington anyway, but this team for the 49ers, it's banged up. It's missing a lot of pieces. It's a lot of changes here, moving people around, jockeying for personnel. The other interesting thing is going to be is Sherman going to stay to one side of the field, or is he going to follow McLaurin? I feel like Logan Thomas is going to show you why he's an up and coming tight end. I think you're going to see a lot and Gibson. If Gibson's toe's not still jacked up and he gets going, then 49ers may have a long road ahead of them today. But this is going to be a tough game for both of these teams.
Who are you going to go with?
I'm going to go with Washington, man. I'm going to go with Washington. I'm going to say Washington 27 and San Francisco 19.
Okay, I'm going to go Washington 24, San Francisco 16. I just feel like Alex Smith has them in the right. They have to run the ball, but they also, remember this, they weren't able to run the ball last week, and what did they do? McKissick out of the backfield for 10 receptions out of the backfield for 70-something yards. They were able to utilize the rest of the remaining backs the best they could.
Right.
That's what they did. So if he's not able to go, look for him to continue to try to do that. But I got Washington today. And then you know what? Let's get down to it. The last game of the day. The last game we're going to be talking about. It's a big one. 11-1 Pittsburgh Steelers versus the 9-3 Buffalo Bills. This is going to be a potential AFC Championship game matchup. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's going to have to come down to can the Buffalo Bills control the clock? Can they do what Washington did? Because like I said, Washington although they didn't have a run game, they were able to control the clock with the short passes, the passes the running back out on the flat, the short passes over the middle. They were able to control clock that way. How do you think they're going to be able to control the clock without, you're going up against probably the number one defense in the league. How are you going to control the clock? How are you going to be able to late in the game, because I think it's going to be a close one, and you've seen how Pittsburgh's offense runs. Pittsburgh's offense, they don't have a running game either. All they do is pass, and it's been successful. But how successful is it going to be? How long is it going to be until, boom, you have Ben throwing 3 picks in a game? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, because he hasn't had one yet this year.
I feel like this game, I think the Buffalo Bills line is going to be up to the challenge because that defense from Washington wore their asses out last week. And I mean, they wore them out bad. They were up and down the field on them all game long. So fatigue might be a factor, but I feel like the same thing's going to happen today. I feel like a no-name Buffalo defense is going to get after them because Pittsburgh took a shellacking last week. Look, when you play at a high level, you're playing at a high level, undefeated. Your team is playing at a high level all season long. Sometimes the coin falls that way, where you could do everything and you still take an L. Sometimes, you could just continue doing what you're doing and everything's hunky dory. But for me, you gotta bounce back quickly because Buffalo, if you allow them to, and I'm talking about this Pittsburgh offensive line, if you allow them to, they will come after you.
Oh yeah. I think the thing that the Steelers need to worry about, and because he came off of probably his best game in a long time that I can remember, they better keep an eye on Cole Beasley because he put up like 130 something yards I think last week against the Steelers. So, against who they play? Who the Bills play last week? I can't remember who they played, but anyway, it's going to be a tough game I think on both sides of both sides of the game. I mean, it's just both of these guys are potent. If Stephon Diggs starts eating, it's going to be a long day, and then throw Beasley in underneath him, and then my boy Dawson Knox got involved last week too. So. Let's go with him, and Singletary and Moss, they're probably going to get you right around 80 yards rushing, maybe. They're not going to kill you with the run at all. But yeah, that Buffalo Bills defense, I hope they were paying attention to what Washington was doing last week. And they try to emulate that because, Steelers get Connor back again today because he's off the COVID list. So maybe that'll change. He
was the key. Like he's been the key. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When James Conner went down, you've seen the struggle they kind of had running the football. You've seen it because they were doing. They weren't running great, but they were able to find some type of a running game. These past couple of weeks, it's like, whoa, all right, Benny Snell had to answer. All right, he ain't the answer. Conner's such a threat, both running and receiving. So James Conner, not that he's the guy in the offense, but he is a huge piece when it comes to the success of the offense, because you're talking about an offense that just they know they're a passing team. They know that's what they do well. So if you can have something that a player that is able to complement a little bit, the offense is going to continue to do what it was doing at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean the one thing James Conner brings to the Steelers is balance. They don't go pass happy. They actually try to, they usually try to run their plays about 50-50. So they're, without him, obviously they had to throw more. So I think that benefited them, obviously, because they have 3 receivers out there that are purely capable of busting it big anytime. The one thing I'm going to tell Josh Allen today is you better keep your eye on Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's all I'm going to say, because that guy can make you pay, and he can make you pay in a hurry. But you better know where he's at on the field at all times before you start throwing those cannon shots.
I mean, look, Minkah Fitzpatrick, I'm sure a few people were writing him off in Miami. I'm sure a few people were like, you know what, this is probably a bad pick. I was trying to get the replay there, but never mind. Anyway, we're going to wrap up. My pick for that game is going to be Buffalo. I think Pittsburgh's going to run into some problems. I know they got James Conner back, but I think that they're finally going to run into a situation where they're going to find themselves down, and they're going to have to come back. And I don't know if they have the ability to come back. I'm going to go with Buffalo 33, Pittsburgh 20, 24.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to go. I want to pick Buffalo, but I just don't know. I know Josh, he can just come out and just start slinging it, whatever. But I also know Josh gets in trouble sometimes when he tries to do too much. I'm gonna put this one a little bit lower, and I'm going to give it to the Steelers. I'm going to put it at 21-19.
21-19 Steelers, huh?
Yep.
Very well might be. I think the Steelers are – I think the Steelers are a good team. Oh, then now you want to go to commercial. Look at that. These people are just too happy for me. Like, what is it? Like, what's the side effects of this?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Side effects are death and constipation. Oh, there we go, NFL. All right, guys, that's going to wrap things up for us at the Basement Monsters Game Day podcast. We will be with you guys at the halftime of BUCS and who the hell are you playing again?
Vikings.
BUCS and Vikings and Bears. And who the hell are we playing again?
Texans.
There they are. All right, guys, until half, we will see you. I'm Ivan Vargas. That's Luke Nettles. This has been the Basement Monsters Game Day podcast on SportsZone Chicago.
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
Straight cash, homie.
Hold on to your butts.